Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Well, hello and good evening, everybody. Welcome back to Apex Racing TV, and welcome back to the Detroit Region SCCA Sim Racing Series presented by Superlap. This is round number 3 of the season, coming to you tonight from Laguna Seca. My name is Ron Mullins. Alongside me in the commentary booth is Charles Bichelle, and in the virtual production hall we have our old buddy Josh Wilkie. Laguna, Laguna, Laguna. This track is a classic. From IndyCar to IMSA, and from the SCCA to Californian Karens who are shocked that racetrack tends to be loud from time to time, this circuit has just about everything. Charles, it's another fun track for this season, and I feel like it's going to be yet another very fun race as well.
Yeah, absolutely, Ron. It is, it's base content. It's one of the free tracks that you get in iRacing, so you get used to driving this track quite early in your iRacing career. Great track, obviously, lots of history involved, lots of dangerous corners that we'll talk about during the course of this race. But yeah, it should be a fantastic event tonight, and, good 30-minute run through Laguna. Can't ask for anything better than that.
It has been a very exciting season leading up to this point. Only 2 races on the board as it stands at the present moment. VIR 2 weeks ago, Navarra 1 week ago, where it's been 2 separate drivers winning it in both the Pro and the M category. Kevin Herold kicked the season off with a rather surprising win at VIR as a result of Russell Soto getting struck by a falling anvil at the dying stages of that race. And then it was Alex Reuter winning it in the M category at VIR 2 weeks ago. 1 week ago, though, at Navarra, Russell Soto found himself in the catbird seat to win in dominating fashion in the Pro category. Andrew Mowat was your winner in the AM class. I've also been keeping tabs on the hard chargers thus far. Dom Batts with your hard charger at VIR up 25 spots, and Paul Dorling with your hard charger 1 week ago at Navarra up 24 spots. So I'll be keeping a small little, keeping invested into to seeing who's going to be the hard chargers all throughout the races this season and how many spots they gain. But I have a feeling, Charles, that this track, as much as it is a brilliant one to drive around, I have a feeling it may not be one where you get those hard chargers cutting their way through the field like a hot knife through butter.
No, you probably won't. It's one of those tracks that, but that being said, this track does tend to induce some multi-car incidents. So that might be a way that you can sneak your way up through the field. But in a lot of those cases, those multi-car incidents involve having the entire track blocked, i.e. the corkscrew where you've got, one car colliding into another. The next thing you know, you've got just a bunch of cars just piling in behind. So yeah, it's chances are we won't have one that makes double digits as far as number of cars they've passed. But stranger things have happened, and it's what we'll be watching out for during the course of the race.
Yeah, a lot of things to keep tabs on in this 30-minute long race that we have coming up. The close quarters racing around this 11-turn, 2.24-mile long road course, certainly going to create a hectic race for these drivers up and down the grid. These GT4s have put on some pretty exciting races thus far. I mean, hey, it's split, because we're like, okay, yeah, we're already a third of the way through the season, but hey, it's a 6-race calendar. We only have 2 races on the board. But I gotta say, of the 2 tracks we've visited thus far, VIR and Navarra, they're rather different. VIR, of course, it's a classic sports car racing circuit. Navarra, on the other hand, designed a bit more towards motorcycles. One track has been around the iRacing platform for a while. The other, a bit newer to the service, even though it's been a part of base content for a while. Not a lot of drivers drive around at that circuit. So we've had 2 completely different racetracks, but nevertheless, 2 very good races to come out of this season.
Yeah, absolutely. And Navarra, not the biggest track in the world. Obviously, VIR 4 miles. But you mentioned this was 2.2 miles, which kind of shocked me because it feels, if we go against say something like Road Atlanta, which is 2.5 miles, or Watkins, which is around 2.5 miles, this feels longer than both of those tracks. So it for whatever reason, it just feels like it's a longer track than 2.2 miles. But it makes for some really good racing, lots of side-by-side action as we're going through some of these heavy braking zones, like we're going through the Andretti hairpin and now into turn 3. You see the side-by-side there, very tricky because if you get off in that rumble strip and in the gravel, you have a tendency to spin as they come through their turn 4. And that run down into a very tricky turn 5, turns left, goes uphill, kind of tight. It feels like it tightens up as you go through there, and then you get up on the gears, start working your way up, and then this is probably the trickiest one. Is the kink. It is just almost, it's a 1-lane track. I mean, it's a 1-lane corner. You're not going to go side by side through there successfully more often than not. And then, as we talked about earlier, the corkscrew 5-story building straight down as you're working your way through those. Then around Rainy Curve, is this right? Okay, so yep, I think that's right. And then you got the last 2 corners here. Pit entry, hopefully you won't have to worry about that tonight because that's the tricky one. And then the final corner that takes you back onto the front straight to the start-finish line. And that's all there is to it. But like I said, this feels like a much longer track than, say, Road Atlanta or Watkins Glen.
Yeah, and I think part of the reason why that is the case is because you don't really have any sort of time to have a break around here. Even that start-finish straightaway, you got turn number 1 dealing with that as well, and that start-finish straightaway around this circuit, not that long, so you don't have really any point to rest if you are a driver running around this track, both in real life and in the sim. Laguna Seca, though, an absolute classic. This track has been around for quite some time, and just about a decent chunk of the track that you see today is basically unaltered based off how it was ever since the track opened many moons ago. The one of the biggest changes was made back in the 80s, interestingly enough, to attract Formula 1 here. The section of turns number 3 and 4 wasn't originally part of the track. The track went from what is now the Andretti hairpin of turn number 2 and shortcut their way into what's now turn number 5. So that was a very quick open to the lap back in the day. And when IndyCar first started racing here back in the 80s, that was the circuit that they ran. Outside of that, the corkscrew been a constant. Rainy Curve has been around for a while. The last major reconfiguration of this track took place in the mid-90s, and it involved the final corners of turn number 10 and 11 being slightly reprofiled with the other pit entry also getting a bit of a shuffle as well. But this track, still an absolutely glorious ride in the world of racing. These drivers currently tackling this warm-up session. 7 minutes already on the board. Paul Darling at the front of it currently. Darling is going to be a driver that we're certainly keeping tabs on all throughout this race meeting, as we expect him to provide quite a big challenge to Russell Soto in P2. But it's been a brilliant season up to this point. But to put on this brilliant racing action, you have to have some brilliant sponsors, and here from the DRSCCA, we have certainly got them. Coverage of the DRSCCA Sim Racing Series on Apex Racing TV is brought to you by the DRSCCA. The Detroit Region Sports Car Club of America, aka the DRSCCA, has been providing motorsports events since 1948. With over 1,400 members, there is no shortage of knowledge, history, and trailblazing ideas like this sim racing league. Thank you to all the participants and spectators for being a part of the augmentation and evolution of the region. The DRSCCA, of course, goes far beyond the virtual realm. In 2024, the region is hosting over 40 events over 60 days that can get you both behind the wheel or so close to it that it'll blow your hair back. The gamut of behind-the-wheel events includes road racing, road rally, rallycross, autocross, and a competition driving school. Support for the Detroit Grand Prix, Formula SAE programs, and Street Survival are also amazing opportunities to help sculpt future and professional drivers. Check out drscca.org for more information. Additionally, we would like to thank Waterford Hills Road Racing, Metro Detroit's only permanent sanctioned road course. Waterford Hills, located in Clarkston, Michigan, hosts a 6-weekend race series, competition driving school, and 9 public open track days. The track is hot from 10 a.m. to 6 p.m. on these event days and is open to the public. A nominal $5 entry fee is all it takes for you to get close to the action. Check out waterfordhills.com for more details. An additional thank you goes to the Michigan Turn Marshals for their support as well. If you'd like to get close to the action, be sure to check out michiganturnmarshals.org. They can train you to support races like the 2025 Detroit Grand Prix. And last but certainly not least, we would like to thank the supporting partner of the DRSCCA series, that being Superlap. Located on the world-renowned Woodward Avenue in Berkeley, Michigan, Superlap is a sim drive studio, a space to meet and compete. With professional-grade racing simulators, they are a premier racing and driving experience venue. They will help you achieve your motorsports goals with education, practice, and training. If you're a race fan, you may be familiar with Formula One. Well, interestingly enough, the reigning 3-time Formula One world champion is a pretty big proponent of sim racing. If Max Verstappen uses a sim, shouldn't you? You can race and practice against an AI roster, go head-to-head with other humans, or both for that matter. They also offer league play like the DRSCCA League. Go to superlap.world for details. Thank you to all the partners and people who make this series and these broadcasts possible, and now on with tonight's action. Coverage. And the action is going to be intense here tonight at Laguna Seca, bringing the first half of this DRSCCA Season 2 a close. And to get this racing action underway, let's take a look at the starting grid, because we've got a little bit of a shuffle up at the front of the field for the first time in what feels like a billion years. Paul Darling jumping in front of Russell Soto, the driver of the 155 car, grabbing the pole position for this race, setting a 1-minute 26.817 to grab the pole. Russell Soto, the driver of the number 50 car, going to join him on the front row. Sean Fritz in the number 6 car will start this race in third, next to Zane Cross in fourth. We have Lincoln Olson starting this race in 15th. Andrew Mowat, oh, not Lincoln Olson starting this race in 15th. He's going to be starting in 5th. See, a little bit better than 15th. Andrew Mowat will be starting in 6th. The pole sitter in the AM category, Ryan Goff, will start in 7th. Vaughn Mishko will start in 8th. Trent McMillan going to be in 9th, and Zohar Ahmed going to round out your top 10.
Yeah, Anthony Cuthbert starts in P11. Daniel Crocker starts in 12th. We roll through the grid. Dom Batts starts in 13th. Eric Hosband starts in 14th. Alexander Reuter in 15th. Richard Shaib in 16th. Andrew Herschel 17th. Mike Schmidt 18th. Eric Christensen 19th. Corey Smith is in P20.
And looking through the drivers we have starting outside the top 20, it starts with Sean Gaynor in 21st. John We'll just call him John for now. I apologize in advance when it comes time for pronouncing the driver, the number 31 car's last name. He's going to be starting in 22nd. Arush Kumar will start in 23rd. David Moreno will start in 24th. Then looking through the final few starters that we've got in this field, Andrew Little will be in 25th. Alan Robson in 26th. Hazim Zanadid, I believe is the correct pronunciation of that name. I apologize to the driver, the number 30 car if I butchered it. He's going to be starting in 27th. Next to Cody Hicks in 28th. Chad Giedel in 29th. Ben Fultz will round out your top 30. Dustin Dark in 31st. Abdul Huda in 32nd. Alex Larson in 33rd. Kyle Barron in 34th. Luis Balada in 35th. David Grzinski starting this race in 36th. And that will round out your starting grid. We'll note that Zane Cross and David Grzinski not out there on this formation lap. So I think Grzinski not in the session, I believe, at least according to our live timing tower, and Zane Cross in the pits. So it looks like we're going to have 34 starters set to grab the green flag in a couple of moments' time, though, Charles. Turn 1, turn 2, technically, the Andretti hairpin. That's going to be a tough ride either way. You take 2 cars out of the equation, it's still going to be tough.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. That's a very difficult corner, especially with cold tires, cold brakes. At the start of the race, got to be extra careful navigating your way through the first lap. But, you know, looks like we're going to have a pretty good race here. It's like everybody's chomping at the bit, ready to go.
I want to raise one more point in reference to your pole sitter of Paul Darling. One time, about 3 months ago here on Apex Racing TV with the DRSCCA series, Russell Soto and Paul Darling give us a great battle to talk about in the Formula 4s. Let's see if it's going to happen here in the GT4s. That pace car making the turn to come down pit lane. The field now in the hands of our pole sitter, Paul Darling. The green flag is out, and the drivers are on their way. It's an even keel start with both of our front row sitters. Russell Soto, though, looking to try and stake his claim on this race early on. Contact being made, heading down into turn number 1 and spearing off the track in a wild way is Andrew Mowat in the number 14 McLaren. He's gone off the track in dramatic fashion. Multiple cars coming up blows, heading off into turn number 2. Looked like they tried to go 4 wide, cresting the hill at the very start of this race. There's only one way that can end, and that is terribly, terribly wrong. Looking at drivers going side by side, and maybe even 3 wide, hang off through turn number 3 and 4. It's still Paul Darling leading over Russell Soto. Sean Fritz jumping up to 3rd.
Yeah, it was a great start to the race at the very beginning. I was watching Von Mishko got a great jump at the start, moved to the outside, took it 3 wide going down into turn 1. I think that's where the issue started. I think there was contact made between him and another car, and that might have been Mowat. But he had a great run and just ran a room essentially. I'm not going to, blame anybody for that. Open set as we go the 27 car around. That's Benjamin Foltz losing it, going into the braking zone for the corkscrew, and I think he just kind of planted himself into the wall there.
Yes, that's the first incident we've seen in this race meeting of a driver losing it, heading off into the corkscrew. It's always a challenge in corners, so it's the first, may not be the last, though, in this race. We've still got plenty of time left to go between now and the checkered flag, and plenty of time to talk about these two at the front of the field. I have a feeling that we're going to be talking a lot about Paul Darling and Russell Soto from the start of this race all the way to the end of it. We were talking before the start of this broadcast, Charles, about how Paul Darling was really raising the fight to Russell Soto. He was the quickest in practice, he set the pole, and he was even quickest in the warm-up session. However, Russell Soto has been very close behind him in every single session. Was P2 in practice, P2 in qualifying, P2 in the warm-up, currently running P2 in the race as it stands at the present moment. In that qualifying session, it was only about 2-ish tenths of a second separating those two drivers, a little bit less than that, in fact. So Paul Darling and Russell Soto, pretty evenly matched pace-wise. That's going to be a real intriguing fight to keep our eyes on.
Yeah, absolutely. I think you're right. Oh, is a car off? I think that's 2 cars off. That's Sean Fritz and the 25 car, which is Eric Christensen. So coming out of the kink, like I said earlier, that's a 1-lane corner. It doesn't look like it's much to it, but you have to be almost inch perfect going through there, too far to the inside. that curb kicks you out too far to the outside, you're off in the dirt and probably going to spin trying to correct it.
Yeah, I think we're going to take a look at a replay to see. This was a call before the storm on the formation lap. We'll note that on that formation lap, some of the drivers were going off the track there as well. I think there's a little bit of a kerfuffle heading down the Rahal straightaway on that warm-up lap, but it was a rather hectic start throughout this race. So we'll jump back to live action and maybe get that replay spooled up in the not too far off future. A lot of stuff going on at the start of this race, trying to find the exact replays. It's like trying to find a needle in a haystack, but the haystack is about the size of a small country. So that's a rather tough job for Josh in the production truck. And I gotta say, I always mention this from time to time, the thankless job of being a producer here on the show, trying to find these replays and take a look to see what happened with Lucas Balada in that Porsche. That was his view of the opening stages of this race. Lots of these drivers with the catching up and seesawing. I will amend seesawing to the yo-yoing of the field at the very start of the race, leading to a bit of overslow. But look at that. That was contact being made heading down into turn number 1. Yeah, you could see multiple cars going off.
Yeah, and it almost looked like net code to me. Couldn't really see it. But if it was contact, it was very slight. It's just the way the car reacted just made it feel more like net code than anything else. But yeah, that was the thing that kind of started everything there. So as we're back on board here with Cody Hicks making a pass around Marino, I think there for P17 overall. So nice little move up the straightaway. They're working their way through Andretti hairpin. I will say this, the guys that are in 3rd, 4th, and 5th, Olsen, Goff, and Crocker, those guys are hoping that Soto can kind of close that gap up to Darling and start doing a little battling, and that's going to allow them to maybe catch back up and make this a multi-car battle up toward the front of the field. Right now, they're kind of running nose to tail, and they're just kind of checking out from the rest of the group. So we see Olsen off.
Oh, and that was big contact being made with Balada and Huda. That was coming out turn number 3. There you can see Huda rejoining the race, losing out on another spot to Eric Christensen. More contact being made with Huda and Larson. That's coming out of turn number 4. That's a big amount of drama for Alex Larson. Oh boy, that's currently running at 30th as it stands at the present moment. There's some damage on that number 24 car. And more contact being made and bang into the wall. That's a huge hit for Larson. And that was a messy series of corners for Huda. I think we have a lot of replays to take a look at. Balada, that he got the short end of the stick in that regard because it was a little bit of contact. I was like, yeah, that's not going to work out too well. And then I saw that left rear tire broken off and absolutely destroyed was that race car. There you could see Balada rejoining the race, obviously wounded. You could see that left rear collapsed heading through turn number 4 right now. And spins around yet again. That tire completely gone, and he had to tow, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think the reason you see a couple of these guys trying to limp it back to the pits is if I did hear from race control, a little contact there between the 36 and the 51 Marino. Sean Gaynor there riding along tight through the rainy curve. So if I did hear the race control mention to the drivers before they start the race that if they towed back, that was the end of their race. They were not allowed back on track. So I think maybe a couple of guys tried to bring it back around and just obviously car too much damage to be driven back to the pits. Ooh, there's Ben Foltz. Yeah.
Yeah, there's been a lot of stuff going on early on in this race as we see Huda calm before the storm with I think there's a couple of bits of scraping on the front bumper of that race car. Nothing too bad. We nearly saw a pass in the gravel involving Arush Kumar. That was heading down the Rahal straightaway off into the corkscrew. Look at that. That's Oh, wow. Not deciding to tone. That's a McLaren going off the track. This has been a very hectic start for these drivers. I mean, we were expecting a bit more drama around a racetrack like this, Charles, but we have certainly gotten that in spades ever since the drop of the green.
Yeah, absolutely. We had a big rush there of cars crashing through the corkscrew. Actually took coming here as well through 3 and 4. You can see I'm still battling very hard. Kumar, I think I saw him off the track again. Don't know if looks like he's back on. So we're watching Sean Gaynor here battling. And I believe that's Moed in front. Yeah, Andrew Moed directly in front of him. It's a pretty serious battle. And then we got 2 wide with Alexander Reuter. 72 car. Oh, a contact there. 72 and the McLaren of Andrew Herschel. And there's more contact. And that was what I was talking about earlier, is you get contact in the wrong location of this track, primarily the corkscrew, and there's just nowhere for these cars to go.
Oh, that's another car going off that I think may potentially be Smith in the number 15 car. This is, there you can see that's Corey Smith dropping down the running order in that number 15 BMW. He stopped. That's on the outside of the entrance into Rainy Curve of turn number 9. This race has divulged into absolute pandemonium. We've seen a lot of drivers getting involved in their own shiitake mushroom shows. In all of that, it's created a little bit of a shuffle up in the end category. It's now Reuter holding on to the AM leads. We take a look at some side-by-side racing involving Urchin Shaib and Hicks. I think Sean Fritz also going to get involved in this battle as well. We saw a moment with Fritz coming out of turn number 6 earlier on, and that's another car going off the track. That, I think, maybe Sean Gaynor heading off to turn number 2.
Yeah, and I think he's going to get a penalty for that because he crossed over into pit lane, and I think they're going to hit him with an unsafe pit exit penalty, even though he didn't pit. He just happened to cross over to the exit of pit lane, and that might be a penalty for him.
Yeah, that may be that may catch the attention of iRacing. Just slap on it, either slap on the wrist, or they're just gonna yoink him back into the pits. Let's take a look at a replay to see a moment involving Alex Reuter, and big checkup heading down into the corner. That was involving some of your AM leaders, and he got hit multiple times. Nowhere to go is the number 15 BMW. That's a reason why he was stopped on the outside of turn number 9. Hit the front, whacked the front of that BMW into the Mercedes, and then he got clobbered from behind as well. So, messy start to this race.
Yeah, absolutely. It has been. Like I said, that's one of the trouble spots, and as you can see, that it just kind of builds from there. As we see Paul Darling working his way through turn 5. Russell Soto still in tow. The gap has stretched out a little bit. It's 1.2 seconds. So Darling's having himself quite the run up in the front. And we may be seeing some lap traffic here in not too long. So that might change things up a little bit.
Now, one thing when it comes to this hecticness that we've seen at the very start of this race is the fact it's going to bring lap traffic into the fold rather quickly. We're following the 2 leaders of Paul Darling and Russell Soto running P1 and P2. I think as it stands currently, they are just about the only drivers in this 36-car grid that are still running in the exact same spot that they started this race in. Actually, no, I will correct myself. Alex Larson in the number 24 Mercedes is holding on to the same spot that they started this race in. So outside the front 2 and Larson, everyone has been shuffling around, but the point that I was going to raise is the fact the 29th place runner of Benjamin Fulton, that number 27 McLaren, a little bit farther up the road. Fultz is heading his way through turn number 3 right now as the leaders are about to head their way off through that section right now. I want to just keep tabs and go through this track map, because as it stands currently, there is just about no stone unturned. Second tries a charm with that saying. Around this track, everyone is running around here at some point. There is a car around just about every single corner or every single straightaway as it stands presently.
Yeah, and they're coming up on the back of Foles. Probably not the place you want to be trying to pass lap traffic as they're working their way down into the corkscrew. they'll probably catch him in a pretty severe clip. Do see some damage on the front of his car. I think he's already had an excursion off there of the corkscrew into the barrier. So Darling and Soto are going to have to, keep their eyes out, find a good place to make this pass, hopefully without losing too much time. They'll get by Foltz, and then the next cars up the road are about the front straight ahead. So they've got a couple of laps before they start climbing up on the back of the next lap cars.
And let's see, when that lap traffic dilemma is raised for these drivers, how exactly are they going to manage it is the real question. Dispatching of Foltz heading into turn number 1 a couple of moments ago. Ben Foltz doing very well, just getting out of harm's way in terms of this race. And really when it comes to the other side of the coin, when it comes to these lap traffic dilemmas, if you're a car that's been involved in some trouble early on in this race, like the case of Foltz, that's to the point where you see those leaders come up to you and it feels like they're going 14 times the speed of sound compared to you. So it's a really rough spot to find yourself. And as we take a look at some side-by-side racing, we're having Sean Gaynor and Hicks. That's hanging off through turn number 11.
Yeah, Gaynor has been... he's running around the same position he started the race. Hicks is up 7. Sorry about that, as he's having a pretty good run thus far. So Gaynor's just trying to follow him and see if they can catch the next set of cars. Maybe pick up a few more positions before the end of the race. We're about halfway through, so still got plenty of racing left to do. But time is of the essence.
And certainly these drivers are passing the time as it stands currently, coming up to the halfway mark in a couple of moments time as we go back to a battle right towards the tail end of the top 15. Andrew Herschel running 11th as it stands at the moment, getting a nice challenge from Dom Batts right behind the number 20 car. Also got Moreno involved in that fight as well. Look at that. That was close quarter stuff. Heading off through turn at number 10. That's going to be the opportunity that Batts tries to take. Actually, that's Schmidt, Batts, and Herschel. My apologies, Moreno about 5 seconds farther back of these racers. Herschel going side by side with Dom Batts, heading down that start finish straightaway off into turn number 1 right now. Schmidt holding on to the final top 10 spot as it stands at the present moment and beginning to pull away as these two racers negotiate turn number 2 side by side, both in the Mercs. Let's see, is Herschel going to be able to withstand this challenge and hold his own on the inside line through turn number 3 right now? And will he be able to clear him? Not enough. Heading out of turn number 3, still side by side into the corner, but it looks like Andrew Herschel finally getting that move done and maybe wiping a little bit of sweat off his eyebrow as a result of that half-lap battle.
Yeah, absolutely. That's pretty tight quarters, but they did a good job just racing each other side by side. That did give Schmidt a chance to get away. Herschel had that look on the inside and tried to make the move, and Herschel played it really well defensively, just kind of squeezed him a little bit, didn't allow him to get the run he wanted, and forced him back off and brought him back. And then Batts decided to try and capitalize on it, and then the battle ensued. So great racing by all 3 of those cars.
Oh, and that's Sean Gaynor. He hit the curb badly heading through turn at number 6. Ricocheted into the side of Hicks and nowhere to go. He spins around. Be careful here on the rejoin. Christensen going to be coming up like an Exocet missile. There you go, blowing his doors off. Let's take a look at a replay to see this incident from Sean Gaynor's perspective. Going for the move down the inside to turn number 6. That red inside curb, it's a killer. Gaynor hit it and he went straight into the side of Hicks. Hicks, really nothing he could have done. Really nothing he could have done. I don't know why I picked up a Boston accent there a couple of moments ago, but Sean Gaynor hitting that inside curb and those red curbs of doom around this track. Not very forgiving at all.
No, absolutely not. Did I mention earlier that was a one lane corner? I think I did. And that's why. Is that inside curb, it's a compression zone in the track, and that inside curb is just absolutely deadly. It'll throw your car basically anywhere except for the line that you were trying to go. And so it could kick you out or it could kick you around into the inside wall. This time it kicked him out into the other car. Contact made and the spin ensued. So it's one of those corners that's just, it's it is tempting to try, if you get a good run out of 5, it's tempting to try and make that move, but it's just almost a no-win situation.
Yeah, it's a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation when it comes to stuff like that. And these racers, a little bit farther towards the front, looking to avoid that at all costs. There's a battle going on involving Crooker McMillan and Zohar Ahmed. Look at that. That's some close quarter stuff heading off into turn number 2. I thought we were going to see a run of bowling a couple of moments ago, but no. They kept it clean. These drivers who we got in the camera shot right now, all making up moves. Zohar Ahmed, he's up 3 spots. Trent McMillan's up 3 spots. Daniel Crooker, meanwhile, running in 5th in that number 33 Porsche. He's up 7 spots from where he started in this race, which is rather impressive. The Hard Charger Award currently split between Kyler Barron, who I nearly jinxed because, as I mentioned, that he was one of the Hard Chargers. He disappeared off by our live timing tower, so I thought that was the worst jinx of all time. And as I said, that he gets a move put on him by Haas Zane. Multiple moves. I think I may have just blown off a jinx of the number 96 Porsche, I should say. That or he's dealing with some connection issues. So hit 88 miles an hour. He's been transported back into 1985. David Moreno is your current Hard Charger, up 11 spots from where he started in this race. Himself and Kyler Barron holding on to that as it stands at the present moment. So let's see how that tie is going to be broken up between now and the end of this race. Now with less than 11 minutes left to go. And I will note the fact that the gap between Paul Darling and Russell Soto at the north end of the field has ballooned out to 3.5 seconds.
Yeah, it really has. I was watching that as well, and Darling's just checked out, and as good as Soto's been since we've been doing the DRSCCA broadcast, Darling's just got the measure of him tonight, and he's put 12 seconds on P3, so he's not slow by any stretch of the imagination. It's just Darling's has just been a little quicker for the race, and has just cumulatively stretched that gap a couple of tenths of a second a lap, and now we're up to 3.5.
Yeah, and I think Paul Darling not going to find himself in the situation that he found himself in the aforementioned Circuit of the Americas run for the F4 championship here for the DRSCCA a couple of seasons ago. That was a pressure cooker scenario for both of those drivers. Paul Darling was not victorious in all of that. Russell Soto was, but we still got 9.5 minutes left to go in this race. Anything can happen between now and the checkered flag. Certainly do not want to jinx these drivers. I've already done that enough, as is Barron. He's in the pits. I'm not sure if that's the continued connection problems, or he's actually had to come in. I'm not entirely sure what's going on with Barron as it stands at the present moment. He just manually disconnected. So yeah. The commentator's striking him hard.
I think it may have been that. I'm also looking at the time and score. He may have hit the incident limit for the drive-through. So that might have just been, I'm not going to make up this much time because obviously Laguna Seca is a very long pit lane. So that drive-through penalty will really, really hurt you, as we see the battle here between Halsbond and I think that's Dom Batts behind. And they're just moving around, he's trying to get out of the way or trying to just block the inside line as they're all still working down here in the 1 and 2.
Look at that close quarters battling between these drivers. Just barely clinging on to that final spot in the top 10 is Herschel. However, he has some sort of salvation at his hands if he can withstand the challenge from Eric Halsband. You've got Cuthbert and Schmidt running a little bit farther up the road, but Eric Halsband in that HP Racing Porsche, he is hounding the back of Herschel as it stands at the present moment. And you also have to look at Dom Batts in the number 20 car. This is a 5-car battle that we've got right towards the tail end of the top 10. This is really close stuff with all of these racers, and some side-by-side racing with Schmidt and Cuthbert heading down the Rahal straightaway. That's going to be really close, heading off into the corkscrew, and oh, look at that. That Schmidt getting pinged off the track. I'm not sure if punged's a word, but there we go. That's Schmidt going off the track on the 129 car. Lots of drama going on there.
Yeah, it almost looked like Schmidt moved over a little early, thought he was clear, but wasn't, and kind of got clipped, and we're going to get a replay here and just get a good look at it as we see Schmidt coming up to the inside, trying to make that run to the inside of the horseshoe. And yeah, just looks like he moved over a little early and was not clear, and into the wall he goes, and that's probably going to be not necessarily race done, but he's well out of this pack now. It's going to be hard to make all that time up. So it's now a 4-car battle here for basically P8 through P11.
And we're going to take a look to see this incident for Mike Schmidt. Still up 3 spots from where he started in this race, and you can see both of those drivers running wide, taking the rally line out of turn number 6. That's what stoked the flames to see the side-by-side racing, and contact being made sends Mike Schmidt off the track, and that's a rather hard hit into the concrete barrier as well. That's some damage on Mike Schmidt's car for sure. He's still out there on the track in the 129 car, but he's down in 15th as it stands currently. Cuthbert, he's run wide through that turn number 6 section 2 laps in a row now. It's a hard corner to get right, don't get me wrong, but he can't afford to have more moments like that because he's got Herschel Halsman and Dom Batts hounding him from behind right now. So this is going to be real tough for Cuthbert if he keeps having those moments.
Yeah, absolutely. You gotta get that car, keep that car on the gray. The sand is the slow line through that corner, so you've got to stay on the track in order to make that car go as fast as possible. We see Cuthbert coming into the pits.
Cuthbert making that call to come down pit lane, and I'm curious as to whether or not that's going to be I'm curious as to whether or not that's going to be a pit stop or whether it's going to be a penalty. Took me the second try to actually spit it out properly, but I think this is a drive-through penalty for Anthony Cuthbert for incident point violations. No disqualification rules surrounding this series and incident points, but after 17 exits, you pick up a drive-through and then you get one after every single 5 incident points that follows. That contact being made between Cuthbert and Schmidt, that definitely contributed to that for sure. Anthony Cuthbert having a real terrible run over the past couple of laps, going to send him into the pits as we go back to the live action and see side-by-side racing with Eric Halsman and Herschel side-by-side through turn number 6. That's not going to work, boys. However, they managed to get through clean. The same with Cross and Batts. I'm not sure how in the world that happened properly, but hey, if it works, it works. I don't think these drivers are going to be guessing it anymore. Close quarter 7 contact being made into the corkscrew. Halsman and Herschel couple of blows as Halsman went for the dive into the corkscrew a couple of moments ago.
Yeah, and they brought who's that car in the very back there? Is that Marino or is that Moed that has climbed on the back of this? Moed is jumped on the back of this battle as they're fighting their way too wide, too deep through the kink. Great bit of driving. Did slow him down quite a bit, though, obviously allowing Moed to make up some of the gap that he had behind, and makes it the 5th car in this battle. And Moed will see what he can do with the opportunity that they gave him.
Yeah, Andrew Moed, your current AM class leader, looking like he's on track for a dominant win in that category. You have to go back to Kumar in the number 46 car to find the next closest AM competitor. Just shows you how far apart those two at the front of that class are. Arush Kumar running up 5 spots from where he started in this race in that number 46 McLaren. However, he's probably going to have to hope for a miracle to get a move done on Andrew Moed. Moed hasn't had a clean race himself because we saw him get involved in an incident, hang through the corkscrew earlier on. But he still finds himself in 12th, still finds himself in the lead in the AM category, as I think there may have been some side-by-side racing with Cross and Halsman a couple of moments ago. But as we go back to this battling, Zane Cross, I believe, possibly driving from Superlap's HQ in Berkeley, Michigan, running in 8th.
Yeah, having himself quite the run as he's made his way around Halsman, and he's up in the 8th position. But that battle's still raging at this point. It's not over yet, I'm sure.
As we take a look to see that battle flaring up, there's the 255 running wide out of turn number 6. These drivers involved in this battle seemingly not having any luck with that corner. I mean, in fairness, going through that corner, you have to lick the stamp, send it, and just kind of close your eyes and have blind commitment through there to even think about going through there with a decent amount of speed. It's a hard corner to get right, and a lot of drivers have messed it up heading through there as they're dealing with some traffic in the form of that Porsche we've got a really close battle forming as it stands currently. Cross, Paulsband, Herschel, Mowat, and Batts covered by about 2 seconds as it stands currently. Andrew Little coming into the pits from 20th. He's got damage on that race car, and I think Schmidt does as well from that earlier incident. So these two racers coming in. I'm curious if Mike Schmidt is coming in to serve a drive-through penalty. Little, of course, coming in to repair the damage, but Mike Schmidt coming in for a drive-through. The incident points really striking these drivers in a race which has proved to be a rather hectic one.
Yeah, absolutely. It's been pretty incident heavy, and obviously a lot of struggles with track limits, which, you know, that's kind of part of the race here at Laguna Seca. Is you have to be on point, especially in corners like this, as you can see, off in the dirt and around, and there's a little into the tire barrier on the inside. Was it you always say the tire barrier made from the matter of a white dwarf star or something goofy like that, Ron?
You got right on the nose there. Well done, Charles. It's the inner machinations of my mind are an enigma. I gotta say one thing about that replay of Little. So we see Eric Hallsman coming into the pits. Is this for a drive-through penalty as well? I think it may be for the 255 car. Yes, it is. The drive-through penalties striking. How many drivers has it struck thus far in this race? It's been a decent chunk of the field. Yeah. I will note that Paul Darling coming out of the final corner right now. He's about to take the white flag in the 155 car, on track for a dominating win here at Laguna Seca. It's been a hectic and wild one in Southern California. Actually, I say Southern California. It's Middle California. I need to test my geography skills at the end of this race, but I believe Laguna Seca, right, as I will say about Mid-Ohio, who we have coming up for the 5th round of this championship in 2 weeks' time. Mid-Ohio, I always like to note that track is slap dab in the middle between Low Ohio and High Ohio. So I guess Laguna Seca is slap dab in the middle between Low California and High Cal. Yeah, SoCal and NoCal. So, so NoCal.
Yeah, absolutely. You're absolutely right. It's up on the central coast of California. One of these days I'll be out there. But yeah, I was looking at timing and scoring. There's at least 5 cars that I can recognize that has drive-through. And just to give you how much time that is, it's 42 to 44 seconds down pit lane from cone to cone. As we see this battle here between Batts and Mowat.
Ooh.
Tight through there. So it's obviously they're still running the on pit lane, but they're not running anywhere close to top speed. So it's at least a 30-second loss of time on track.
Yeah, those drive-throughs can be a huge kick in the nuts. We take a look at this side-by-side battling heading off through turn number 4 as Paul Darling crosses the start-finish line to win this race here at Laguna Seca. There's a checkered flag for him. He continues on that streak of 3 different pro driver winners in the first 3 races of this season. It was a fight between Daniel Crocker and Zohar Ahmed heading off into the corkscrew. It looks like Daniel Crocker going to remain in 6th, up 6 spots from where he started in this race in that number 33 car. Ryan Goff going to complete your podium in 3rd as we take a look at Lincoln Olson finishing in 4th. He had a rather tame race, which something that can't be said for a lot of the drivers up and down the grid. I think Trent McMillan just ran out of gas coming right to the line. The fight between Batts and Mowat we were keeping tabs on earlier on in this lap. Dominic Batts getting that move done to break his way up into the final top 10 spot. Andrew Mowat maybe going to force the issue, running wide coming out of the final second to last corner, I should say. Batts taking the defensive line through the corner, but Mowat not really going to have too much skin in this fight, as either way he's going to take the win in the M category. That's going to be a 2nd win on the track for Mowat in the number 14 car. So congratulations to him, and congratulations for the couple of drivers who were able to negotiate this race without a paint chip on their race cars.
Yeah, absolutely. This was a race that, you know, we talked about this, I guess, before the broadcast last week in Navarro, and we thought there might have been a pretty high attrition rate because it is a little used track. I wasn't expecting the attrition rate here to be anywhere close to this. It was just a battle from start to finish, and there was lots of sheet metal that have been bent during the course of tonight's event.
I will note as well that David Moreno was your hard charger at the end of everything. He made up 12 spots between the start and the finish, which is half the positions gained from the hard charger of Paul Darling 1 week ago at Navarra. So really speaks volumes about the challenges of overtaking here, and that could be part of the reason why we saw a lot of drivers coming to blows from the drop of the green flag all the way to the fall of the checkered. That was this race. It was a rather chaotic one, to be sure. That's Paul Darling grabbing the win at the end of 30 minutes of racing action. He's victorious in that 155 car after being the hard charger 1 week ago. He is the force to be reckoned with here at Laguna Seca. So congratulations to him. And also congratulations to Andrew Mowat on grabbing his second straight win in the AM category. Waiting for a few more cars to cross the start-finish line in a rather disjointed race for sure. A rather disjointed field at the end of all of it as well. It was a battle of attrition and just seeing who can finish this race, period. Not even finish first, just finish the race at all was going to be a hard challenge for these drivers. Some of them managed that challenge a little bit easier than the others, so we'll hopefully get those results loaded up in just a couple of moments' time and break things down from a hectic race for sure here for round number 3 of the DRSCCA Sim Racing Series presented by Superlap. Paul Darling going to grab the checkered flag when everything is said and done. 4 seconds between himself and Russell Soto at the end of this race. Ryan Goff going to round out your podium in 3rd. Then we have Lincoln Olson finishing in 4th. Trent McMillian ends up in 5th. Daniel Crocker going to finish in 6th. Zohar Ahmed in 7th. Then we have Dominic oh boy, I skipped Zane Cross in 8th. Andrew Herschel in 9th. Dom Batts, as I mentioned a few moments ago, going to round out the top 10. We have Andrew Mowat finishing this race in 11th. Your winner in the AM category, David Moreno, your hard charger, ends up in 12th, fittingly gaining 12 spots from the drop of the green flag to the fall of the checkered. Sean Fritz in 13th. Anthony Cuthbert in 14th. Eric Hallsben going to round out the top 15.
Yeah, in 16th, we have Eric Christensen, Richard Sheeb in 17th, Cody Hicks in 18th. 19th, Arush Kumar. Mike Smith finishes in 20th. Sean Gaynor, 21st. Hazim Zanadin in 22nd. Andrew Little in 23rd. Dustin Dark in 24th. Abdul Huda in 25th. Alan Robson in 26th. Kyle Barron finishes 27th. Luis Bellata finishing in 28th. Alex Reuter in 29th. Ben Foltz finishes 30th. Corey Smith in 31st. John Wiersbicki in 32nd. Alex Larson 33rd. Von Mishko in 34th. Chad Geidel in 35th. And David Grodzinski did not take the start, and so he will be scored as 36th in our grid.
And that's how things shake out at the end of this 3rd race of this championship, bringing the first half to a close in a rather hectic way. But Charles, we got some drivers waiting up there in the interview waiting area. Paul Darling being one of them, our dominant winner at the end of this race. I'm curious if you want to have a chat with our race winner of Darling.
Well, absolutely. Let's bring Paul in here and we'll have a chat with him. Paul, congratulations on the race win tonight. From your seat, obviously, pretty straightforward event. From everybody else's seat was pretty much chaos in the back of the field. So you just basically just got out front, managed to get a gap over Soto, and just basically just cleared everything.
Yeah, it's one of those where it's never fun to watch, but to drive, it's always very intense when you've got someone as fast as Russell behind you. Like, there's always the constant pressure to not make a big mistake that costs you several seconds, and you get right back into draft range. So, quiet race, but it was one of those quiet, intense ones from the driver's seat.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. I can imagine just having, because obviously we've seen Russell basically win pretty much anything in any type of car. So to see somebody out in front of him, it's a little bit of a shock. But you obviously had the car and the speed in the car for tonight, and was able to safely navigate a lot of bent and broken race cars as you were trying to clear some lap traffic. So yeah, it was looked pretty straightforward, but I'm sure it was not the easiest thing in the world.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to watching the stream back and seeing all the chaos behind me.
Yeah, absolutely. So, Paul, congratulations. We'll let you give any thanks or shout outs, and we'll let you go for the night.
Yeah, just want to thank my team, Soul Precision Racing Esports. Long name, jeez, ever since they added the title sponsor. But yeah, and thank the Detroit Region SCCA and Superlap for helping put this on.
All right, Paul, congratulations.
Yep, thank you very much.
Thank you.
And that right there is Paul Darling, your winner at the end of this race here at Laguna Seca. It doesn't look like any more drivers are going to be joining us in the interview waiting area, but Charles, a hectic way to bring this first half of the season to a close. We got another fantastic American road course in the form of Road Atlanta to look forward to in 1 week's time. That's going to be a good one. We both love that track. It's going to be a hoot.
Yeah, absolutely. It's probably a little easier than what we saw tonight. Obviously, a couple of really big straightaways that allow these cars to stretch themselves out a little bit. But there's still some trouble spots, and we'll talk about that. Obviously, Turn 5 at Road Atlanta is the one that you always have to get right, because is the one that will kill you almost instantly should you get it wrong. But that's a story for next week. And for tonight, it was a chaotic race, but some really good racing in amongst the pack. And congrats to Paul and Russell as well. Obviously, Russell did everything he needed to do except pass Paul for tonight. So some great racing from them as well.
And some great racing action to look forward to here on Apex Racing TV. Gives you a good reason to subscribe and hit that notification bell so you never miss any of the racing action from not just this series, but everything else here on Apex Racing TV. But as for this broadcast here tonight, that will just about do it. And so for myself, Ron Bonds, Charles Bichelle joining me in the commentary booth, and Josh Wilkie doing a wonderful job working on the cameras in the virtual production hauler, I say thank you all so very much for watching this broadcast here on Apex Racing TV tonight, and we hope to see you all wherever it is in the not too distant future.
Are you struggling for consistency in your sim racing? Does your iRating look like a roller coaster? If so, we have good news for you. The way to get more consistent is to first understand what you're doing differently than the professionals. And VRS is the answer. With our competitive subscription, you will have the telemetry, setups, tutorials, and everything else you need to fully analyze your driving. Our data packs and the ability to compare your driving with the best in the world will show you exactly where to adjust your inputs, change your driving line, and shave seconds off of your lap times. And our powerful and precise Direct Force Pro wheelbase and precision pedals are being used by some of the world's best drivers. All these champions agree that VRS hardware is not just the best on the market, it's also priced well below the competition. So if you're looking to upgrade to direct drive and the best pedals in sim racing, VRS is your answer. If you want to get better, get faster, and make it happen sooner rather than later, you owe it to yourself to find out why so many people are switching to VRS. You'll be so glad that you did. Visit www.virtualracingschool.com and learn why the best use VRS.
Yeah.